Welcome to the Abundant Accountant Podcast. This is where accounting professionals just like you learn all the ways to grow their firm, sharpen their skills, and have consistent increasing sales. I cover topics such as detaching from the emotional side of the sale, having paradigm shifts in the most important part of your business, which is the nucleus of your accounting firm, sales, and how to see an objection really as an asset and stop giving away your time for free for those that don't deserve it, so you can actually get paid your value and your worth and grow your top line revenue. You'll learn tips, sales strategies, as well as hear from personal interviews from successful accounting professionals. This podcast will show you exactly the blueprint on how to create the firm and life of your dreams full of abundance. Welcome to the Abundant Accountant Podcast. Today, we have a very special guest. Our special guest started his CPA career back in 1984, and now he said he is a recovered CPA. And today, he's the founder of VeraSage Institute, which is the leading think tank dedicated to educating professionals internationally. He also has a radio talk show and is the host of VoiceAmerica.com. He's also authored 7 best-selling books with so many to name, but you can make sure to go on Amazon and get all the books that you would like. But before we welcome our special guest to the show, know that sometimes you look at your work piling up in front of you from low-value clients and wish you could just probably make it all disappear. Or maybe you dread busy season because it means you'll barely see your family for months. Or you worry about your health, constantly feeling exhausted, and know that the stress from work is really having a serious impact on you, but you have no idea how to reduce your hours and do that without losing any revenue or profit. Well, if any of this sounds like you, then actually I have some really good news, because none of those things are actually the real problem. The real problem is that you just don't have a system for only working with ideal clients, maximizing your revenue, and really gaining back your freedom. Here at The Abundant Accountant, our system will allow you to gain back your freedom, grow your firm, and finally enjoy your work and your family without working long hours, without stressful tax seasons, and without having to hound clients for paperwork. Even if you feel like everything depends on you right now and falls onto your shoulders. And this is the same system that I've shown hundreds of firm owners just like you create the firms they've always wanted to have. So if you want me to show you exactly how to do this, go to theabundantcall.com right now and book your complimentary, no obligation strategy call with me and my team. On this call, we're going to look at what you're currently doing in your practice and also look at the revenue blockers and help you lay out an exact roadmap so that you can as much as double your revenue in your firm without having to chase down new clients. Now, if you love what we come up with and you want to talk about working together, we can continue our conversation and explore what that would look like. And if you want to do it on your own, that's okay too. We can part friends and you can send a couple of referrals our way. Everyone wins. The only way you lose is by not taking action and trying something different. So go to theabundantcall.com and find a spot that works for you to lock in your no obligation strategy call with me and my team before spots run out. And now let's welcome our special guest, Ron Baker, to the show. Welcome, Ron, to the show.
Oh, thanks for having me back, Michelle. You're going to get sick of me at some point.
Nope, I'm not going to get sick of you. I don't foresee that happening. Our conversations are so good. I think they're very valuable. I get great feedback. And I think you always have a lot to say and you can articulate it really well. So that means that you'll be back. Yeah.
Okay, well, I look forward to it.
Yeah, but Ron, maybe someone doesn't know who you are. So why don't you share what is it that you do in like a minute or less, so the people that don't know who Ron Baker is, they can get to know you a little bit.
Okay, well, I've changed my status from recovering CPA to recovered CPA. I think I've been out of it long enough now where I can say that. I started my life in a Big 8 accounting firm. Actually, I started my life in my own accounting firm in high school because I knew in high school I wanted to be a CPA, and then went into the Big 8 and then started my own firm after I left. and realized the billable hour was a lousy customer experience, and we wanted to up the customer experience. And so we started offering fixed prices. And then that kind of morphed into value pricing as I learned more about it and got more confident and better at doing it. And then I started teaching that concept. And then I wrote a book about it. The book kind of took off around the world. Then I got out of my practice, sold it to my partner, and I've been consulting, writing, and speaking ever since.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad that you're doing that and that you are now a recovered CPA, because I know you have been saying recovering, but that was a long time ago. But I'm excited to talk today because I think as it relates to someone's sales experience and what we provide to our clients, be it access to us or, I think, well, here, let me just start with this, Ron. One of the biggest complaints, I think, from firm owners is that, clients are calling all the time. They're emailing you. You basically are answering text, emails, phone calls all day long, and you're not getting paid for it. And, I think most firm owners are sick and tired of being underpaid and undervalued and underappreciated. And I think today what we're going to talk about, which maybe Ron can actually do a definition of these two words, because one word's adaptive and the second word is capacity. And how you can actually generate revenue from that by obviously pricing your services differently than you're doing now, but so you don't feel taken advantage of. So you don't feel like your clients are basically visiting the ER room at your local hospital all day long and you're like the ER surgeon and you're not getting paid a dime for it. And it all comes down to our client experience and how we mandate what we're going to charge for, what we're not going to charge for, and what we're going to say and allow and what we're not going to allow. So adaptive capacity is what we're talking about. And before we start, Ron, can you define both of those words for people that might not have a clue what you're talking about?
Well, this idea struck me because I fly too much. So you sit in airplanes and you think about, well, this is interesting. There's a fixed amount of seats in an airplane, right? But it's interesting how the airlines divide up those seats. So they segment even within the airplane. They have first class passengers, they have business class passengers. Now, of course, everybody's got a premium seat where you get like 6 inches more or something. And then you've got the back of the plane, right? In some of the older planes, you even had a second story, right? Like the 747, and they put the business seats up there. And I think, well, that's interesting because they can adapt their seating to their capacity requirements. So they can move the bulkheads around, right? They get to configure their cabins and figure out how much are first class, business class. Why can't CPA firms do the same thing? Our capacity can be adaptive, and we can kind of do that, on the fly, or at least set parameters around how many first class customers should we have, how many business class, how many premium, and how many back of the airplane, the Priceline.com shoppers and the bereavement fairs and, the people that are only buying based on price. It's not that you can't serve those people. It's just that you should allocate so much capacity. And then once that capacity is filled up, that's it. There's no more seats. You don't take on more people. And so this idea really intrigued me. So we kind of got a schematic of a Boeing 777 and kind of laid it out for people and said, look, 5 to 8% of your customers maybe. And of course, these numbers are just suggestive. They can vary by firm, but 5 to 10% or so can be first class, maybe 15 to 25% can be your business class. And then the rest can be, or the middle, the premium can be 30% or so. And then the back of the plane. But whatever those capacity numbers are, stick to them. You can adjust them. And that's where the adaptive comes in. But what we're trying to prevent, Michelle, is we're trying to prevent them adding capacity for basically C and D customers. Right. No airline would do that. No airline would put a bigger plane on a route to accommodate more Priceline.com shoppers.
Yeah, no, they wouldn't do that for the back of the plane. But if they had the top 5 to 8% of their clients that are flying first class, then they might upgrade the plane if that demand is there because they'll be generating a premium, and it will be a very profitable flight.
Absolutely. And in fact, we used to joke that if CPAs ran airlines, they'd put the second story in the back of the plane to add more capacity for the DNF customers, right? And the other thing that this teaches is that we should always have spare capacity for our best customers. Now, this is also from flying too much, but once you get up to top status, I'm 1K on United. In fact, I'm way above that now because I have million plus mile flyer.
You mean so 1 million, not 1K?
Yeah. One is, in fact, now I think I'm at 1.6 or something. And that gives you lifetime status. But the point is, as a 1Ker, United guarantees me a seat anywhere in the world at the last minute. And believe it or not, I've had to pull that trigger a few times. So I'll be at an event and then I'll get a call and say, hey, we have this conference going on in London and one of the speakers got sick. Can you substitute? So literally run to the airport either that night or the next day and say, United, can you get me to London? And you know what? They always have a seat. And if they don't, they'll bribe somebody off of it and put me on it. So in other words, they'll bribe the customer who values their seat the least to give it to their customer who values it the most. And that's where we got the airplane auction. Some economists figured that out, by the way back in the 70s. And the airlines didn't think it would work. And of course, now it's common practice. But that taught me a lesson about why is it that when CPAs are really busy, and this happened in my firm all the time, during tax season, you're really busy. A client needs something really bad, like maybe a special report or some type of project, and you always try and put it off until after April 15th. That's like being sold out on your plane, and then your best customer shows up at the last minute. We should always have spare capacity. And it gets even simpler than that. Think about going to a dentist, calling your dentist, you have a bad toothache, and he says, oh, we can fit you in 2 weeks. No, unacceptable. I expect my dentist, my doctor to have capacity for emergencies, and they plan for that, and they should plan for that, and so should we. So when you think about capacity, there's two types. There's the maximum capacity that your firm has. So let's just deal with the solo because that makes it really easy.
Yeah, and if you can give a real life example of like a firm you have in mind, and we can make up the name if you don't want to use an actual name, I think that'd be really cool to correlate that to the airplane and having this visual effect with the maximum capacity and then going through this example.
Okay, great. I'll give you an example of a sole proprietor. One person, not even a personal assistant, okay, just a solo.
Yeah.
And
what's their name? Make it up.
I'll call her Jenna.
All right,
and Jenna has, when I asked her, what is your maximum capacity? I'm not talking about hours. I'm talking about the number of customers you feel you can handle at an extremely high customer experience level. And she thought that number was around 40 and said, okay, that's fine. So now what is your optimal capacity? In other words, what is the capacity that would allow you to still work on your business, still have time to recharge and deal with your emotional capacity, still have time to invest in your CPE and all the other things that you have to do as a business owner? Obviously, that optimal capacity is going to be less than the maximum capacity. So when you think about it that way, it's usually around 60 to 70% of your maximum capacity.
Got it.
So when we really dive down into this, and I made her think about all these other things that she's going to have to do as a solo, then we figured out that her capacity is really about 25 customers. Well, then you've got to adjust your pricing. And of course, there's multiple ways to do that. And I know we've talked about pricing on other shows where we talk about offering three options and
value pricing or subscription model we've done.
Exactly. So, but the point is that you always want to have capacity for those emergencies or when the customer when they are in an ER situation. I'm not saying we should be always running around with our hair on fire, but this is one of the things I love about the DPC doctors, the direct primary care physicians. While the average physician has 2,400 patients, these doctors run at 600 patients, meaning when you call them or you FaceTime them or you text them, they usually respond within 10 or 15 minutes, or somebody from their office gets back to you. And it just, if that text comes in at 2 a.m. in the morning and you're asking your doctor, hey, should I go to the ER or should I sleep on this and not worry about it? And they give you a response, maybe after asking you some questions. What's that worth? I mean, it's incredibly valuable to have that level of access. And then when you do see them, you get to spend an hour with them, not 5 minutes. And the only reason they're able to do that is because they have capacity. Their optimal capacity is much lower than their maximum capacity.
And I think this is, I personally actually experienced this with Mila, my dog. And she had this eye surgery a year ago, or maybe not even a year ago, 6 months. It feels like it was a year ago. And it was probably a couple months ago, just randomly. I was like, why did she wake up and her eye is shut? Like one of them. And I'm like, oh, no. I can't go through this again. So I sent the specialist. She was an eye vet ophthalmologist. And I said, hey, I know Mila just got cleared with you a couple weeks ago, but for some reason her eye is shut. So that means if their eye is shut, they're in pain. And I could have gone just to the ER room. That was one option, but there was no guarantee she might have been there, etc. So I sent a text and I sent an email. She actually sent a message back probably within 15, 20 minutes, or someone on the team, and said, hey, we'll squeeze you in at this time. Can you get here? And I'm like, yeah, let me drop everything and rearrange my schedule. I guess that's because I'm at optimal capacity, right, Ron? Because I can recharge and do my CPE and take care of self-care. But I guess this is just things that happen in our lives. And so I was able to rearrange my schedule, take her in to see the ophthalmologist. Glad I did. She had this like weird piece of hair growing on the inner part of an eyelid that she just literally plucked out, and she was fine. The dog was fine. And it's nothing you could see with the human eye. She had like a 10x magnifier, and she did a full eye exam though. She didn't even like shortcut anything. And I was just like, wow, this is why you pay a premium to go to a specialist, or in, the world of your firm, this is why clients will pay you a premium, because they want to have that option that if it does become an emergency, you have room for your VIP clients. And maybe it's not even VIP clients, but high-end clients expect a certain level of service. And at times, those people, I don't think use and abuse it like the C and D clients, like you were talking about earlier. But when they do need it, we need to be ready to move, just like you with your, 1K, or I think it's 1 million miler club. Isn't it, Ron? Not 1K. Hey,
no, 1K. 1K is 100,000 miles a year.
Oh, God.
So you have to earn that on an annual basis. Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, but they guarantee you a seat anywhere. And then, like you said, they're bribing their lower tier clients to move to a different flight with like a $500 voucher. But it doesn't matter, because the worth and the value you bring to the airline is so much greater than the $500 voucher that they're going to give away to someone else who's willing to switch flights.
You've got a marketing mind, Michelle. So I'll tell you this too. I believe United, because of my search habits and the cookies they have in my system, I believe I pay a premium for every seat. Like, I bet if I went and looked at a flight and you went and looked at a flight, we'd probably get different quotes.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I have no idea if that's the truth, but that would actually be a fun experiment. We should do that. We tried it with Ed, I think, on American, because he's top tier with American. And we ended up getting different, but I can't remember the difference. It wasn't much. I have no status because I am not flying a lot anymore. I just fly for free on all my points. So I don't even pay for a seat. So I think I would be a great person to do a comparison. Will you go on United, log into your account, I'll log into mine, and we'll book the exact same flight, and let's see what our prices come up as.
Okay, we'll do that. Maybe we'll do that after the show and report back.
Yes.
But the point is, I'm more than happy to pay a little bit of a premium on every ticket I buy, just for the insurance of being able to pull that trigger. Because look, I make my money flying and speaking. And when I have an opportunity, I got to be there. I don't care what kind of timeline. And United's always come through. They've always gotten me there. Mm-hmm. And I'm more than happy to pay. So we are more than happy to pay for access. And I think I told this story one of the other times we discussed this. I have an eye doctor, and I had glasses that needed to be replaced because there was a scratch on my lens, and I couldn't get in to see my eye doctor. I called in like October. They gave me like a January date. I screamed and yelled. They moved me up to December, like after Christmas. And when I finally saw the doc, I said, "Doc, I had to go to another doctor to get an eye exam." They said, "This is kind of unacceptable. Why don't I have a subscription that I can pay you monthly, and I have a special lane and get right in front of the line when I need you?" And of course, he apologized profusely. And he said, "But do you mean like concierge medicine?" I said, "Yes, because I'm willing to pay for that. You're talking to a first-class customer who values his time tremendously. I'm willing to pay, and you don't have an offering for that." Now, maybe he doesn't want that type of practice, and that's fine. Right. But that means
you need to find another doctor then.
Exactly.
Right. Just like we would have had to find another. I already moved eye doctors once for my dog because the other one, it felt like you were just another deli ticket. You know, the delis at the grocery store, and you grab your number. That's literally what this eye ophthalmologist office felt like. And I was like, something's wrong. I'm like, this does not feel right. And then I had this other experience. But the thing is, same problem, Ron. When I first called, when I knew Mila was having she got sick, and then it attacked her immune system, attacked her tear glands. She was having issues. They got me in right away. They were just office, so excuse my language. The other doctor had a 2-month waiting list. However, what I should have done, and here's the lesson learned if you have an animal, go to the best doctor, and you can go through there via the ER. I should have just paid the premium and went in to see her via the emergency room, which was an option, and they did tell me, but I just didn't do it because I was like, oh, this other one squeezed me in. But even though they had the capacity to squeeze me in, they weren't the best, unfortunately. So, yeah. But, you know, in the world of our animals and pets, that is an option where you can go through the ER. But I think as we correlate that to everyone here and your firm, it's like, what is the price and what are the amounts that you need to charge so you are the ER for your clients when they need it? So it's actually a viable option. So you don't end up like you with a scratch on your glasses and you got to go to a different doctor.
Exactly. And you know, the other thing that's really neat about having spare capacity, not only does it allow you to serve your best customers when they really, really need you in those emergency situations, but it also gives you capacity to get better customers. So I want to throw this idea at you because this occurred to me, me and my colleague, Dan Morris, who's a CPA. We were driving around Lake Tahoe. You've probably been up there. It's stunningly beautiful. Mm-hmm. And I think we were driving around the lake, and at the time, and this would have been the early 2000s, at the time they were doing a lot of renovation on the California side of the line. They were knocking out, you know, they were bulldozing all these like t-shirt shops and, you know, tchotchke souvenir places. And they were putting more high-end condos and hotels. I think they were building a convention center. And Dan came up with this brilliant idea. He says, as they knock out these older, crummier places and put in newer ones, yes, those newer ones are only going to be able to serve fewer people, but they're going to be a higher value. He says, why can't we do that in a CPA firm? In other words, for every new A customer we bring on, first class, business class, why can't we get rid of 1 or 2, maybe 3, maybe even 4, depending on how many customers you have, from the back of the plane? And we called this idea the forced churn. In other words, we're forcing out customers, but we're not doing it all at once. So we're not freaking people out. We're just saying, look, if you bring on a brand new, you know, first class customer, why don't you get rid of somebody in the back of the plane, and maybe even two people, but set a pace that's comfortable for you, and then over time, that's how you upgrade the cabin.
No, I love that. So, okay, I'm going to play, the firm owner now, Ron. I am your new Jenna. I think that's what we called her.
Yes. One of my all-time favorite names.
Yes. Okay, great. And I am, going to Ron Baker's Consulting to figure out how I can optimize and never turn away people and always have a better capacity at optimal capacity. How would you walk through a farm owner right now who says, okay, this all sounds good, and this might get rid of my problem of clients making demands for things that are driving me crazy, and having all the issues that the firm owners have? What are the first few things that they need to write down, think about, change, implement in order to start making sure that they have optimal capacity? Because in Jenna's example, we went from 40 people being at max capacity. When you ask the question, what's your max capacity? And maybe we need to come up with a more specific question for a firm owner today. Like you said, they're going to think about time. So how do we reframe that question? So it's like, well, what's your max capacity if you were only working the amount of hours you wanted to in a week? So maybe it's just 30 or 40 tops, 12 months out of the year, doesn't matter what time of year, where you not only are you offering the best and highest customer experience, but what else would they need to do? And like, what steps should we say to do these in? If the firm owner's listening saying, okay, I want to implement this, I'm sick and tired of the way it's going, I got to do this. Every year I tell myself I'm going to make a change, and I never make a change. I'm sick of feeling exhausted and stressed from work. And, it's having a serious impact on many firm owners. And I think you've seen it, firsthand. And they don't have an idea on how to reduce the working hours, without losing revenue and profit. So I think this is a good shift in being able to set some boundaries for yourself, but also to actually implement, because we can talk all about increasing revenue, increasing profitability, changing your sales process, and changing your client experience, but you actually have to put this into action. So what's the action plan, Ron?
We all know the low-hanging fruit is to adjust your pricing, right? Because that can easily be done. You can do it one client at a time, and you can start offering them 3 packages, and most of them are going to pick the center or the middle package. But some of them are going to want that white glove experience. Some of them are going to be like you and me when it comes to, your eye doctor for your dog or for you. You're going to be willing to pay more, and you'll never sell a high dollar package if you don't offer one, which is the beauty of offering 3 options. So you could easily do that. And then also I would want people to think about, okay, tell me the configuration of your plane. Let's put these clients in their various seats.
Okay. And then actually draw out a plane. I'm sure there's
absolutely
some sort of AI robot that can draw out a plane for you.
We actually did it on a spreadsheet once where people could fill out, on the spreadsheet with a schematic of an airplane. But you could do a cruise ship too. It'd probably be more fun because there's more cabin configurations and things like that. But the point is that you'd start to make a plan about, okay, how many, back of the plane customers will you let go as you add front of the plane customers, right? So you'd figure out that forced churn ratio. So I'd try and at least double or triple their price, assuming that their customer experience was up to snuff and their offering was premium enough to justify that. And I'd probably start with the pricing first. However, Michelle, we both know the strategy and positioning, and I would say even purpose, come long before the pricing. I want to know why you became a CPA. I want to know why you started your firm, what really excites you. You probably did it to help people. I want you to live that purpose. I want you to do the type of work and have the type of clients that you want. I'd want you to be niched, so I'd want to work on that. But that's probably more long-term, type work. For immediate results, let's get your pricing up. Just like we did with Jenna, we took her from 40 to 25 customers. We did that over a period of a year or so. As she added new customers, she let go of 2 old ones. And that got her down to her optimal capacity. It gave her more time. So she's working less. She's got less clients and she's making more money.
But I think I love, the third thing you said to do. Draw out your plane. Write in all your clients' names and put them in whatever seats you think they should go. And the people in first class, it's time to have what I call a re-enrollment conversation to increase their fees to where they should be, especially if some people I've heard, increase 5-10%. I'm talking like 200-400% increase, and make the drastic necessary changes in order to have a different firm and have a different life. Because if you just keep going the way you've been going, isn't that the definition of insanity? You're just going to keep getting the same results. Because I get a lot of firm owners, Ron, they think they have a challenge as getting leads. They have a challenge getting new clients, when really the challenge is converting your current clients into high paying premium clients and getting more people into your first class seats and business class and maybe some in premium, and not really focusing a whole ton on your back of the plane people.
Yep. One of the things that I really learned from studying like Disney quality service and just excellent customer service organizations like Neiman Marcus or, Nordstrom or all those types of companies, is their philosophy is our customers aren't going to get better until we do. So we can sit around and bemoan the F customer, right? Who's very demanding, maybe doesn't pay so well or on time or whatever, always complains. But the fact of the matter is, they're not going to get better until we do.
I love that.
And I think if we up our offering, then all of a sudden an F or a D customer could become a B or an A customer. But we have to get better first. Now, some people you're just not going to be able to please, and those I think you should kick off the plane, preferably without a parachute. But we should be able to get better. And I think one of the complaints you hear when people think about this in terms of the airplane analogy, what you'll hear is, I have a lot of people that pay me coach fare, but get first class service.
Yep.
That's unsustainable. If you're getting first class service, if you're in that front of the plane, you're getting your champagne when you board, and you're not getting a bag of peanuts. You're getting, cutlery and a nice meal and wine and booze. You got to pay for that pampering. You're going to have a price discussion one way or the other. And sometimes you can't get those people up. You're going to have to exit them off the plane.
You'll need to replace them with your VIP first class client, just like you, and give vouchers to some of your other people that you need to get off, even if it is a little bit of a cost to you to get rid of them. It's always going to pay off in the long run. So, yeah, that's beautiful, Ron. Thank you so much.
Exactly. I don't think of it as a cost. I think of it as an investment.
It is an investment, but it's an outlay of cash. So, because the investment is the opportunity to work with the new client or the upgraded one like you. That's the investment department. But even if there's I would call it still a cost, wouldn't you? Because it would cost you maybe, let's say, $500 to $1,000 in a voucher, which is just going to go against the higher investment that you're going to get from your first class client like you. So it's still profit, but that person is still a cost, so we need to get rid of them.
Exactly. I view it as freeing up capacity for better passengers.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you something else that I think is really that can make this transition easier. Now, this is more of a medium run strategy, but I think nothing jacks up confidence better than if firms, especially solo firms or small firms, if they have wait lists.
Yep.
If you have a wait list, you're going to just make better decisions all the way around, short term, medium, long term, because you always know that if you have to let somebody go, there's a group of people eager to get in. And this is what I see with TPC docs. Almost every one of these independent TPC docs because they're at maximum capacity, because the demand is so great for their type of experience and offering, they all have wait lists. My dad was on a wait list for like 4 months.
Wow.
And somebody had to die before he got in.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, that gives you a lot of confidence. That's like having a lot of money in your savings account, and you don't have to worry as much. So try and build a wait list. And of course, that requires you to say no. And I find a lot of CPAs have trouble saying no. Any customer that they're looking at is a good customer. And I don't think that's true. I think you got to pay more attention to your emotional capacity as well, and make sure you're only dealing with the number of customers that you can do and still remain sane, and still fulfill your purpose, of having an impact on their lives. So saying no, I think, is really important. And of course, my favorite way to say no is just to say something like, well, I'd love to, but I don't want to.
Yeah. And I think also saying no, you were sharing earlier, it just removes the stress and anxiety that I think so many firm owners feel, not only right now, but just it just compounds and it gets worse and worse and worse and worse. And in order to remove that, the more you can say no and start playing a game, I think it will organically create a wait list for yourself. Especially, I think it goes back to number one, you have to build out your configuration of your firm via a plane. How many seats do you have in first class? How many in business? How many in premium? And how many in the back of the plane in coach? And once you figure that out, then you can have the ability to say no. But I don't think anyone listening has ever thought about, let me make my plane and let me see how many seats I have. What is my optimal capacity? Until you know that, we can't do anything else.
That's why I love the metaphor.
I do. I love it. I think that's why I was so excited. I love flying too, but like I said, I only fly twice a year international free. So business class, lay down bed. Otherwise, I'm not going to go. But yeah, I think that's a great action plan. Ron, is there anything else that you would want to add that maybe we didn't talk about yet or that popped up in your head to really solidify the importance of having adaptive capacity in any firm size, especially if you're just starting out or have had a firm for a while, or you have a job but you really want to have your firm actually succeed? This is a crucial element to making sure you have the best firm possible, and having the room for your VIP clients or the people that have an ER, real emergency. You have the capacity and the space and the mental space to help them.
I'll give you two more things that I thought of as we were discussing this, because they're kind of, and I'm sure you have protocols for this, but some of this obviously is going to require you at some point to offboard customers. Firing. I hate the term firing customers because they're not employees, but you know what I mean. You're going to have to offload a customer. How do you do that? And I really think it needs to be a conversation. Don't do it. Yeah. Don't do it by an email. I mean, that's as bad as breaking up with somebody over a text, right? It's just, it's no class, but it's unprofessional. We should sit down with them. We should also give them, a nice long runway where they can maybe even suggest other firms that we know and trust to make the transition as smooth as possible. You're going to be there for them in that transition. If their new CPA has questions, anything like that. I mean, you can do this very professionally and keep your reputation intact. It's kind of like somebody analogized this, and I think this is brilliant too. Firing customers requires kind of like, it's like breaking up with a boyfriend. It's not you, honey, it's me. I've changed. You gotta make it like that. And so you give them a soft landing and you keep their dignity and respect and all of that. So firing customers, I think you need to be competent in doing that. And the second thing I would say is, and I see this mistake all the time now, largely in a little bit bigger firms than, say, a solo, but I've even seen solos do this. They'll have this idea that, well, in the slow months, like the summer or something, when we're not chasing a deadline, we're not as busy, we'll lower our prices. Oh, please don't do that. don't that just degrades your pricing integrity. It sends confusing messages into the marketplace. You never see Apple run a sale. You never see Apple discount. The only way Apple's prices become lower is when new technology comes out, right? And they might lower the price of the older technology or keep it the same, but they never run discounts or sales or anything like that. So please don't cut your prices around capacity.
Yeah, that's so true. I never realized that that's when the old iPhones go down, is when the new ones come up. Wow.
Yeah, that's why their innovation curve is so, rapid, because they want 50% of their revenue from products that didn't exist 3 years ago. That's a tough KPI. Yeah, you really got to stay on top of things. It is.
You got to be like 3 to 5 years in advance of everything in order to keep up with that. Wow. Well, Ron, thank you so much. This was a great conversation, and lots of implementation is there for all of you listening. So I just want to say thanks again, Ron. It's always an honor to have you here. I think you have such great metaphors and analogies and all of that. So it's just an honor to have you here and grace us with your time and your presence, because I know you could be on a flight in business class on the way to London right now. And we'll go do our comparison, and we'll be back with you with our results in a future episode.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Michelle. It's always great to talk with you.
Thank you all so much for joining Ron and I here on another amazing episode of The Abundant Accountant. And I love how he said our customers won't get better until we do. So if you are ready to get better and make a change in your firm and have all the ideal clients who value your expertise in the right seats on your plane as early as this month, without having to hound clients for paperwork or spend every night and weekend working just to keep up, I can help you. And not only that, I'm going to show you how to do all this in a way that feels simple, effortless, and automatic, so you barely even have to think about it. And this is the same system I've shown hundreds of tax, accounting, and bookkeeping firm owners just like you who have used it to create the firm they've always dreamt of. So if you want me to show you exactly how to do this, go to the Abundant Call right now, abundantcall.com, and book your complimentary, no obligation strategy call with me and my team. On the call, we're going to look at exactly what you're currently doing in your practice and what are the revenue blockers that you are having that don't align with where you want to go. So you can have an exact roadmap so you can double your firm revenue without losing and without ever having to chase down new clients. And remember, everyone's going to win. The only way you lose is by not taking action today and trying something different. So go to theabundantcall.com and find the spot that works best for you to lock in your no obligation strategy call with me and my team before spots run out. Thanks so much for being here, and we'll see you in the next episode.